Good evening again, everyone. As I mentioned last week, if you were here, we became involved with the Shenango district here back in 04, 05, looking at some study options for the board to consider at that time. As Dr. Schreck pointed out, that study phase has started and stopped a number of times for various reasons. But at that time, when we were first engaged, we were also involved with the renovations to the high school auditorium and the expansion of the parking lot at the high school facility as well. Last March, we re-energized the facility study, went through all the motions to evaluate everything again, look at the demographics of the cost projections. And that study was completed in February of this year. And at that time, the board opted to look at the options that were in the study and chose this particular option, which we've initiated with the Department of Education, to get a placehold with the PlanCon process, which is the reimbursable program the state has for construction projects in districts. What I'd like to do next is just kind of summarize some of the findings of the existing building that were found in our studies and some of the previous reports that have been done on the building over these past 10 to 11, 12 years. There were 5 construction periods for the building. It comprises 98,000 square feet. It's a 3-story structure, but there are 6 different floor levels in the building. As you move around the building and see the various levels, there's some ramps that transport people from one level to another, stair towers to the upper levels, etc. Some of those ramps are out of compliance for ADA accessibility, some are not. There is an extensive corridor circulation network in the building, as Dr. Schreck said, reported. It does make the collaboration within grade levels very difficult. It's also very difficult to supervise. The building has an enormous amount of exterior doors. There's 20 exterior doors to the building. Some of those are a result of dead-end corridors, the way that the building was originally designed and constructed. Some classrooms have doors directly to the exterior to provide for the proper means of egress for those areas that have dead-end corridors. Some of the classrooms are very small. Today's standards for an elementary program, the way that teaching goes on in a classroom, the size of the classroom is anywhere from 800 to 900 square feet. Sometimes kindergarten rooms are even desirable to be larger than that, just because of the activities that go on in the kindergarten setting. We have 11 classrooms that are under 705 square feet. Some are even less than 660. So the Department of Education doesn't recognize anything below 660 as far as the capacity for reimbursement purposes. And it's very difficult to enlarge the classrooms as they sit in this existing building, particularly in this 1926 portion, because of the construction of the building. A lot of these walls are bearing walls, and it would be not very cost effective, and the end result would not be very good for learning in the classroom setting because of the shape the rooms would take on. Cafeteria is split. It's very difficult for food service operations, intensive labor costs, and then supervision of the dining areas. We found the structure to be fair. There are areas of the building around that you'll see, if you can get up on some of the upper levels, see some of the brick that is deteriorated. Mortar joints are opened up, a lot of water getting into the walls, going through freeze-thaw sections of the building, just perpetuating damage. You saw on the slide that one of the staff members' comments were on the plaster that's deteriorating. Some of the water that's getting through the exterior brick walls is getting to the inside and it's degrading the plaster surfaces where it's crumbling to hand pressure. The exterior walls are poorly insulated. We have the deteriorated masonry. And then our windows are in poor condition as well. They leak both air and water. They don't have insulated glass. They transmit cold and heat very, very much so right through the frames and the glass itself. And that's just, again, causing more internal damage to the wall surfaces. The heating system, you heard the comments about the overheating. There's some residential window units on the 3rd floor trying to temper the temperature of those rooms. Other classroom spaces have no air at all. The residential window air conditioners are just not the appropriate means for cooling in an educational environment. There is uneven heat in the building as well in the wintertime. Some areas are overheat, other areas are freezing. Some of these connecting corridors, there's no heating in them at all. The main heating plant is at the high school. There's a transport line that transports the heat medium from one building to the other. By the time it gets to the remote areas of this building, it's lost a lot of its capacity. Water temperature is way down. Fresh air ventilation is very deficient. As you know, we have high standards of outside air in classrooms today. Depending on the number of students in a class setting, the outside air fresh air requirements are quite high. Some of the building rooms you have here have little to no fresh air because of the antiquated system and units that serve the classrooms. We also found the plumbing, fixtures, piping, and valves to be in poor condition. Some of the valves don't operate at all any longer. The electrical system, the service entrance, the main switchboard are at maximum capacity. Even if we wanted to air condition the building today, it would require new electrical service because we don't have the capacity at all in this facility. The branch panels that serve various areas of the building, classrooms, are also at maximum capacity. The manufacturer is no longer in business, and as those breakers start to fail, the district has to buy those off market, which is very expensive. Classrooms lack power outlets. The distribution in the building from even all the back as early as the '93 renovation, we still have a lack of power distribution within classrooms to serve the electrical needs in today's classroom setting. The emergency generator is also overloaded. The fire alarm we did find to be in good operating condition, but today's standards are much higher than when it was originally installed. So that would need to be addressed in any type of a renovation. Lighting is outdated and inefficient. Sound system is outdated, main distribution system here in the building. And data cabling needs to be updated. It's problematic throughout the building. The wireless is very, should have advanced that slide forward. The wireless is very problematic. If you have a cell phone in this building, it's very hard to get any cell reception in the building itself. And the wireless transmission for data is also very deficient.
Hi, I'm Mike.
I don't want to jump ahead to that video yet. There is asbestos materials that still remain in the building. Some of those were abated in previous work that has been done here, but there still remains areas that have to have asbestos removed. Any renovation is definitely going to affect the building materials that contain the asbestos. And then, as I mentioned earlier, accessibility is very deficient for our ADA compliance. Ramp slopes and railings, restroom clearances and fixture heights. If you go into the restrooms, you can see, you don't need to be an architect, you're going to see they're very cramped, the lack of access for grab bars, etc. Classroom counters and sinks no longer meet the ADA requirements for classrooms that have those types of amenities in them. Door widths, in a lot of cases, are undersized, particularly on the stair tower exits. And the electrical and fire alarm device heights aren't at their current standard heights. And the exits that do not access to grade, all our upper floors, the upper second floor and third floors, have no areas of rescue assistance, which is required by code today for our accessibility requirements. So those are the general findings of the building that we found as we progressed through the evaluation of your facility here. Kind of summarizes the points that were made by some of your staff as well.